Hi, my name's Matt Pearson, and this is my very first tutorial for my own website. It's here at www.matt-pearson.net, and it's still in the early stages, but I've got a few things for you to download, some free stuff like these. I have no idea what they're called, but I call them incidentals. Something that all motion graphics users need and use. They're just little shapes that they usually brighten up an animation. So if you want to come onto the site and help yourself, they're free to download. And I've got a couple of other things on the actual site, like a couple of studios I've used before for other work that you can download. I've just quickly banded them together and zip them up for you guys to download and use however and wherever you want. As I say, they're all free, so come over and help yourself. Now onto the tutorial itself. I actually saw a commercial a couple of days ago with a cool looking transition, a clonal transition, and I tried to recreate it, and what it did, as an object was made out of certain shapes, like you can see here, this 3 is made out of spheres. It transitions over time, and you can see it kind of transitions into these diamonds, and obviously the color transitions as well. And using some planar vectors, I was able to recreate it in Cinema 4D. So here we go, let's jump right on it. So to begin with, we need the object we want the shape to look like. So if we get some motext and create something that we can use, let's keep it fairly small to keep the clone numbers down. So just a random number. Let's make it slightly bigger so we can see what we're doing, and bring it round. There you go. We should be able to see what we're doing with that. So first of all, what we're going to do is make this editable, and with the MoGraph text, as we all know, we need to come back in and make these editable as well. And let's bring these out and highlight everything and connect objects and delete. There we go. We've got an editable version, of that number 13. And what we can do is create a cloner object and change it so we'll actually clone onto this number, editable number 13. So we choose object under mode and drag the mode text down into object. And now we need something to clone. So if we create a sphere, something very simple, just bring the sides down and the size down to about 5 centimeters. Bring this into the cloner, and you can see it's suddenly stuck to all the corners of the object at 13. So if we come into cloner and change the distribution to volume, hopefully that should spread them out a bit so that they're not just stuck to the edges. We can increase the count as well to about 500. And if we hide now the mode text, you can see now that we've got the number 13 made out of the clone spheres. Now what we want to do is create another separate clone of what you want to transition into, or the shape you want to transition into. So what we can do, if we just copy and paste that and rename it so we don't get confused, I'm going to call one cube cloner and one sphere cloner, just to hide that for a sec. and we'll create a cube. Make that a bit smaller, about the same size as the sphere, and bring that in. Now what we're going to do is, it's looking a bit static, so we're gonna, on the cube itself, come into Cinema 4D tags, oh no, sorry, simulation tags, and create a rigid body. See there, if we come in a bit closer, they're all overlapping each other, and they're all fairly straight. What we're going to do with this rigid body, under force and follow position, if we increase that to roughly about 10, what we'll see is these will all pop out, so none of them are overlapping each other. There we go. See, so they've all kind of pushed out to their own space. And what we're going to do is command drag that to the sphere, so the sphere should be doing the same thing as well now. Now, so we've got our two separate number 13s, the spheres and the cubes. What we're going to do now is decrease the size of the cubes. Hide that, so you can't see them. So if we reduce under the cloner transform, if we reduce the size to 0.01, what we should see is that you won't be able to see any of these cubes. They'll be invisible. So if we bring the spheres back, literally all we have here is the number 13 made of spheres, and what we're going to use is the plane effector to re-increase the size of the cubes so it transitions slightly. So this is a plane effector, and we're going to come to fall off infinite, create a sphere out of it. Reduce the fall off to 0, and we're going to duplicate this, and on the second one create the fall off to about 15%. Let's rename that to fall off so we can know what we're doing. What we can also use is, if we come into MoGraph effector, we can use the group effector, which pretty much just groups a lot of effectors together, so you don't have to keep worrying about long lists of effectors within the cloners. I think they're very useful actually, especially for keeping things a little neat. Let's rename that to cube so we know which one it goes onto, and if we highlight both of these, what we're going to do is affect the actual size of the cube. So we don't want the position, we want scale. If we change that to absolute, uniform scale and absolute scale. Now the plane effector without the fall off, that's going to hit the cubes first, and we want it to suddenly increase in size and we're going to go to scale 200, so that'll actually be double what it originally was, like 5 centimeters. So that's going to increase it all the way up to 10. Actually, we're going to triple that, so that's going to increase it all the way up to 15 centimeters each cube. And then in the plane fall off, as that hits the cubes, it will then decrease it back to its original size. So if a third of 300, let's make that 0.33, and hopefully that will decrease it back to the normal size, about 5 centimeters. So with these now, everything gone in, we're gonna select our cube cloner, let's get rid of that, and put in our whole group. And let's just hide the spheres for a sec. And let's move this cube cloner over slightly. Something I forgot is if we go into the actual group itself, we need to add the effectors. So now the effectors are in the group, and the group is in the cloner effectors. So there we go. If we move it on slightly, refresh it, you can see here on the edge of the effector, all the cubes are huge. They're like 3 times the size what they should be, and as it passes through the fall off into the second effector, they're all the correct size. So what we'll do is this group, cube group, we're going to move slightly into the middle, and then we're going to animate the size. So if we come into coordinates, change that to 0s, and animate, set a keyframe, then move to say about 40. Let's change that, and move it to roughly 1.5. So what you'll see is we're completely engulfing the number 13. Now, so if we play through this, what we can see is the number 13 like appears out of nowhere. It's huge blocks around the edge, and then it reduces into size to the size we actually want. As you can see, it's a bit scattered. They're moving around a bit too much for my liking. So what we're going to do is come into the dynamics tag of the cube and increase the follow rotation to about, let's say, 15. This is very much guesswork on half of these. It's a matter of going in, putting in a number, and then if it works, oh, that's a lot better. Oh, actually, they're still moving slightly. Let's increase that to, say, 20. And increase the angular dampening to, say, 50. That's a bit better. So if we come into this the sphere cloner, and let's show that, what we need to do is at the same time we're showing the cubes, we need to make the spheres disappear. So what we're going to do is copy and paste the group of cloners. Let's rename that to sphere group. And with this sphere group, what, instead of increasing the size, we're going to decrease it to 0, so you effectively, it's invisible, you can't see it. And for that we only need one plane effector. We'll keep the one with the fall off, so it still slowly decreases in size rather than doing it all the way, and move the scale to 0. Now in the sphere cloner, we're going to add the sphere group. Let's just see, it hasn't gone in to the cube. No, we're good. So hopefully what we should see now is the spheres are disappearing as the plane effector goes through them, and the cubes are appearing at the same time. As this spherical plane effector moves through it, creates a transition between the actual clonal objects. If we create another mode text, let's go to say 23, create. Where was it? Doc. We'll go through this quickly. Create another. There is a set of text in the same location. Make that editable. Open that up slightly. All done. Create that as an object. Let's hide that, and then on that second set of clones, the cube cloner, instead of using the Motex 1, we'll use the Motex 2. So now as it transitions between the 13 and the cubes, it should actually change the number as well, like so, to 23. There we go. That's my first tutorial. I hope there'll be many more. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find time to go onto my website. As I say, I'm hopefully going to be updating it with a lot more things fairly soon. A lot more tutorials, a lot more freebies, a lot more these little quick tips. And I hope you have time to come on. Thank you very much. Goodbye.